Hey yo, salute to all my subscribers. Shout out to everybody else passing through. YouTube, what's good? So I'm back again with another installment for the platform. And before I get into the topic I want to talk about um, in this video, I want to take a quick second, real quick, just to let everybody know. Um, I'm gonna I'm gonna be implementing a new do not engage policy for all the trolls because there was a time when nothing made me happier than to go at anybody, any given place, point in time, who came through on any of my platforms, had something disrespectful to say on any of my content that wasn't necessarily related to the purpose of my content, but just for the sake of them being trolls. There's so many trolls out here though, and as my channel is starting to take off now, and as all my platforms are starting to take off, and I'm getting very busy, what with me starting the writing process of my second book, with me dealing with my 2 podcasts and my YouTube channel, I don't really have the energy to really engage you trolls anymore. It's kind of a sad thing because I love shutting y'all down because 90% of y'all can't keep up with me mentally anyway. But aside from that, it's really draining a lot of the positive energy that I'm trying to put into all of my work now. And I can't have y'all really interfering anymore with the shit that I'm trying to do. So miss me with the trolling shit. I mean, don't get me wrong. Every now and then I might be in a certain mood and somebody might come through with some disrespect shit, and I might just decide to just cut your head off just for the sake of doing it, because it is a sport to me at the end of the day. Other than that, let's get into what I came through to talk about. So let's see. Recently, I've been talking to, and this was actually, what I'm going to be talking about was actually supposed to be a podcast episode that I was going to be doing, but I may or may not still do it. If I do, I may switch it up a little bit. But recently I've been talking to a few people in my circle. We've been going back and forth about, becoming homeowners. For the majority of the people in my age group, and again, for people who often hear me talk about my age group, I'm 33. So if you're anywhere in between the ages of, I would say 28 and 35, I would consider you to be in my age group. And why I think that's a good age to be talking about for this topic is because I think the majority of the people who are looking to become homeowners are probably going to achieve that goal. The majority of us, not everyone, because there's exceptions to everything, but the majority of us will achieve that goal between the ages of 28 and 35. Some people who are more fortunate than others, or who have certain properties handed down to them from their parents or whatever the case. Some people will have that happen to them before the age of 28. And then there are quite a few of us who won't get our first home until we're in our mid to late 30s. But for the most part, I think most of us strive somewhere in my current age group to be looking to get a home or start thinking about the process, and trying to figure out what it is that's needed in order for that dream to be attainable, that goal to be attainable. Having said that, though, what I wanted to talk about is, in some of the conversations that I've been having with people, it's come up quite a bit lately, actually, and it's coming up increasingly more often, that I don't really know if becoming a homeowner is something that I really think is for me. It's funny because, like I tell you guys all the time, I'm in the hospitality field, and I meet people from all different walks of life, people from all over the world, and they're traveling to the U.S. on business and for other reasons. And what's very disheartening to me is a bit of information that I've recently found out, and I wasn't always aware of this, but of course, you live, you learn, and you learn something new every day. I was talking to a few foreigners from many different places, and what seems to be the collective general knowledge from people who are from abroad is that when you're a homeowner, and the majority of these other countries, once you own your home, you own your home. And it's one thing that's really discouraging about owning a home in the U.S. is that you never truly own your home. And what do I mean by that? I'm not talking about the people who are in a 30-year mortgage and they manage to get through that whole 30 years. You know, you get a house at the age of 30, you pay off your mortgage, and by the time you're 60, if you never refinance and you've never had any major issues come up to where you had to take out a second mortgage or all of these crazy things that homeowners get trapped inside of, and you pay off your home and you're 60 and you're approaching retirement and shit's going good for you, even though you've paid off that home, you still, as long as you own that home or any home, you still are in debt to the government for what they call property taxes. And that's what I mean when I say you're never truly an owner in this country, if you live in this country. Because in other countries, when someone owns a home, once that home is paid off, it's theirs, they own it. There is no property tax. You own that home. That's yours. How can you continue to tax me on something that I already own? But the United States government, of course, being the crooks that it is, doesn't operate in that way. So even if you no longer have a mortgage and you're no longer in debt to the bank and you have the deed to that home, it's fully paid off. If you come across a major life change or a major setback in your life that causes you to fall behind on your taxes to the IRS, they can come and take your home if you fall behind enough. And to me, the concept of that is crazy. Or they can, put tax liens, or you have to take another mortgage out even though your home is paid off because you have to catch up on these taxes and these different things. And now you're in trouble all over again on a home that you owned and did what you were supposed to do and paid off that home. And that's what I have issue with. And it's that concept of ownership in this country. And it's not just with homes, it's with everything. I mean, even if you own a car, depending on what state you live in, like here in my state, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, you can own a car, not have a note out on that car, not be in debt to the finance company or to the bank or the credit union or whoever you financed your car through. But you have to pay a tax on that car every year that you own it. If you don't pay a tax on that car every year that you own it, then your registration, which is license for you to be able to operate that car on the road, will be suspended. And you will not be able to renew it until you catch up on those taxes, which is crazy to me. So if you look at the majority of things in this country, obviously we're talking about non-durable goods. I mean, we're talking about durable goods, things like cars, homes, things that you really only buy once or once every 10 or so years. Even having ownership of those things, you still need to pay a fee to the government to be able to live in it if it's a home, operate if it's a vehicle, even though you own it. And I have so much of an issue with that you look at it that way, and you look at it, all of the headaches that come with ownership. That enough in itself should be enough for the reward of ownership to be true ownership, but it isn't. And with all of the headaches that come with ownership, if you for people who live in a home that they may be renting, but it's a full home and they have the space that they require in order to be able to raise their kids or whatever they're doing or whatever they have that home or need that home for. As long as you, and this is the concept that I've been playing with, in my head. As long as I have the space that I need to be able to live comfortably, to, have enough space for my kids or whatever the case, a yard if I want a yard and all these different things that people typically get homes for, other than, wanting a home for ownership, is that when something goes wrong, I like the idea, as someone who's currently a renter, I like the idea of being able to call someone else and it's their responsibility to fix that problem and it's not my responsibility. Because a lot of times, and in this country, unless you're at a certain point financially, sometimes owning a home can potentially be a bigger burden than not owning it. Now, obviously, if you're someone who is at a certain financial position in your life and those aren't things that you have to worry about, then by any means, I mean, you do what you do at that point. Because I guess having something that is at least 75% yours is better than having something that's not yours at all. But then again, and then if your position too is, because when you own a home, this is at least a 30-year commitment, for people who are going to live in this home and live out the duration of their mortgage until it's paid off. Or if they decide to sell it 10 years in or 15 years in, it's still a long-term commitment. If you decide you want to move 2-3 years down the line, or you decide you want to pursue this career or move to this geographical location or take a job somewhere else, well, now you're under the pressure and the stress of having to figure out how to get out of that home and not be upside down and still owe on your mortgage, or try to sell that home, try to get rid of it, in the short term, and then you still come out of that mortgage at a loss because you still owe the bank. So it's all these things you have to toy around with. So, I mean, realistically, unless you're somebody who's really set into a career that you're not going to be getting out of, and you're working for a company or whatever the case that you don't see yourself leaving, then I guess you're more in a position to make that kind of decision. But for someone like me, who I'm getting sick of the cold, I'm getting sick of the weather changes, and I'm not really sure if I want to permanently settle where I currently am or move to a different state or even a different time zone. It's all of these things that come into place. And with somebody like me, at 33, I don't know how many more years I'm going to be able to deal with the cold and the snow and that whole process. It's just getting old to me. So that's something that weighs on my mind too. Also, for me, my personal goal was that if I didn't get a home by the time I was 35, every year after that, it kind of seems pointless, because I'm not going to be paying for a mortgage into my 70s or even into my mid or late 60s. I just don't see it. It's not something that I'm going to be beat to really be worrying about the stresses of I'm pushing 60 and over 60 and I'm still trying to hustle and pay this mortgage. It's not really my thing. Now, I don't really see that for my life. I got other plans, but it is what it is. We're talking worst case scenario. So I just stopped through to talk a little bit about that. Not really gonna make it too long. Let me know what y'all think though. Are you somebody who's currently a homeowner, or if you're not, are you seeking to become a homeowner? If you are, were you aware of the fact that there are places, outside of this country that you can own a home, and once you do, it's yours? Do you even think it's fair that the federal government makes us continue to pay for something that we own? Because let's be honest, a lot of us don't even see, tangibly what our taxes, so many taxes that we have to pay, what it actually goes to, or where our benefit is. Some of it, the things we take for granted, of course, but the majority of the things that we're taxed on, it's like, what's the point? We're taxed on our income automatically, and then yet and still, even after that, we're taxed on all these other things, whether we own them or not. Let me know what y'all think. I don't pretend to know everything. I just know what I know, and I'll catch up with y'all in the next one. Peace and love.